when I think of a lot of the records that, I've listened to that you've made, your distortion and saturation stuff is so good. It's like it's not brittle and harsh the way it can be. Is that anything you're doing after the fact? Can you elaborate on that? Or is it really just understanding what distorts how and then choosing the right thing for the right thing?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you noticed because I put a lot of thought into the grit,
Yeah.
basically. It's done if it's something that I'm producing, yeah, it's there's grit. I call it grit versus distortion because when I think of distortion, that's I think of more of like a saturated
Mm,
sound, and I don't necessarily want that. I
yeah.
don't want it to be um, distorted. I want it, or oversaturated and that sort of thing. That wouldn't be quite right. I
Yeah.
want it to have a grit to it, kind of like an early Stones record, or where so like the early Motown records where things are kind of they're breaking, but it's very satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of that. If it's something that I'm producing, then yeah, we're we're getting that. We're trying to get that however we can. So again, it's by overloading a preamp that's that that it's where it's enough to where it's kind of breaking up, or it's adding a little bit of hair to the
Yeah.
thing, to the sound. And then I may go even further. Than when I go to mix it, I might go even further with additional grit.
Yeah.
And it's usually not a lot that I'm adding. It's just I'm adding little bits on a lot of things, and so it adds up in a certain way. And I don't like to use the same grit on everything. I think that's also important
Yeah.
because they all have different colors. Some are going to emphasize the low end, some are going to be better on the mid, some are better on the top. So just not using like the same plugin. Let's if it's a plugin, not using that same thing on everything. And if it's outboard, not using that same pedal or piece of gear for each time I'm trying to overload something.
Yeah. Yeah. When you know, you definitely understand the character of these things. You probably don't do this now, but years ago, if time allowed, did you do a lot of comparison when you were mixing? Like, what's this sound like compared to that? Okay, I like the way that this pushes the low mids. This isn't working here. Or have you just accumulated it over the decades of making records?
How do you mean comparison to what?
I guess taking a second to shoot out, like before choosing to, we'll use plugins for example because it's easier. So before just throwing Decapitator on, did you ever try Retrocolor next to Decapitator, next to Saturn, and be like, okay, Saturn is what I want to use because of this?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, in the when we were, before the plugins, yeah, we would shoot things out
Yeah,
just to see. We try maybe between 1 and 3 options. We would know that there's one of these will be cool. They might even all be a little similar, but there's going to be something that's going to pop out of the speakers.
yeah,
It'll tell us. So yeah, we would definitely shoot it out, and I still do that if I'm mixing something. Let's say maybe something that I didn't produce, something that someone else produced, but they sent to me to mix, and I'm trying to get that grit, which maybe they didn't do that when they were capturing everything. I'm trying to find different ways to creep that grit in there to not have things sound too clean, and yeah, so I'll try different ways of doing that because sometimes the plugin, Decapitator, whatever it is, um, Saturn's great. Whatever it is, it may be great on that last project, but it's not working the same way on the same instrument for this next project. I
yeah,
don't know why that is, but it is what it is. So yeah, you gotta. Sometimes you have to just do a quick check just to make sure.
yeah,
You can't just blindly do the thing like, well, I always do this on my drums. There are things that I do use a lot for drums or bass or whatever, but I am checking, and I may not use the thing that I always use. There are occasions where it's not right, and so I swap out for something else, and but yeah, you have to constantly check that.